Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes weekly webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today, I'm excited to show you a stunning collection from our friends at Arden Creative Studio. We have pattern papers, laser cut images, and die cut ephemera elements, all with a beautiful botanical style from one of my very favorite designers, Katie Pertite. Let's take a look, and we can begin with that 6x8 paper pad. Now here on the front of the paper pad, you can see the various colors that she's chosen, as well as how those papers are grouped into pairs to make them really easy to mix and match. Now, as I'm flipping through, you'll notice Katie's signature collage style and how everything is designed just to coordinate so beautifully. So here you will have 24 sheets of double-sided papers. You have 2 each of 12 different designs. And as we flip through, you'll notice this gorgeous color palette. I absolutely love the golden. There's also a beautiful sage green, coral pink, and again, everything is designed to coordinate really nicely. Now, Katie always includes some faux texturing. There's some script and some words in there. In this case, you've also got some really nice frame elements, which mean that you can use these for cards. You could also use them for lots of other paper crafts, including mini albums or scrapbook pages. So that's the 6x8 paper pack. Again, you have 24 sheets included there. Then to go along, you've got a set of laser cuts. Now, here you can see on the front of the package the various designs. So you've got some botanicals. You've also got what I refer to as stationary elements. So some tags and labels to go along. Now, what's really nice about these, not only are the designs absolutely beautiful, but they are double-sided, which means that you've got some more options when you are choosing and mixing and matching these. For example, this botanical is arching in this way. If you want it to go the other way, you can simply use the other side of it. So this really does add to the versatility, and it's a nice value added too. So here you've got your botanicals and your butterflies. And then we've also got, again, those stationary items. So some tags and labels here. Now you'll notice that you've got some with words on them, as well as some that are blank. So if I flip this over here, you can see where the words are. And then if you want to add your own sentiments on there, you've got some space to go along. So those are the laser cut elements, and they all just pop right out of that backing sheet. As for the ephemera pack, well, this is really nice here too. So you've got 117 ephemera elements in here. I'll flip it over, and again, you can see the variety of designs. I also pulled out a couple just so that you can see the style and the design. You've got botanicals, butterflies, words, labels, and so much more in there. It's absolutely a gorgeous collection. There is so much to play with in here, and with everything being totally coordinated, it's also really easy to have a lot of fun with this beautiful collection from Arden Creative Studio. I'm really glad that you're here today with me, and I'm so excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. These papers and embellishments are so easy to use to create a really simple and elegant design. Now this is perfect if you need a quick card, and it also gives you some options to add more techniques or other product if you want to. So here I've got this beautiful pattern paper as my background. In fact, let me show you this. You can see what it looks like before I trimmed it down to fit onto my card front. I absolutely love this collage style. You've got a really nice sort of subtle faux texture background here. Then you've got this lacy frame element, a really gorgeous distressed effect with some little ferns peeking out around here, and then also some spattering effect, a little bit of script down here as well. Now there's a lot that you can do with a sheet like this, and so what I've done is simply trimmed it down slightly smaller than the front of my card, and I enhanced it with some of the ephemera. So I've got some of the leaf elements, as well as this large, beautiful floral bouquet, accented on the other side with a butterfly, and then I've got my sentiment in here and a little bit of jute twine in there as well. Now, another option that you could go for with the circular design is to keep it simple and enhance that circle with another circle. So here's another one of the ephemera pieces. I've added some foam tape to the back of this, so that gives a little bit of dimension in there. And you could, of course, embellish from here as well, or keep it very simple. And don't forget, I'm using this as the entire circle, but you could also cut this in half, cut small portions of it to use as little snippets too. So there's a lot of possibility with these frame sheets I found in the collection. So back to the card here. Now I did add some cardstock on the front of my card, and this is coming from the Ethereal Bouquets cardstock pack. And this had a beautiful sage green in here that just happened to match perfectly with the colors in the collection in the pattern papers. So I've first added that green to the front of my card, and then I've got my collage piece here. Now I think you can notice a little bit of gold foiling, some gold highlights around here. And this is another great way to really tie in this vintage look with the pattern papers and the embellishments here. So let me show you what I've used. Now this is the Fab Foil Gold. This is from Wow Embossing. So they're not just embossing powders, they're also Fab Foil. This is one of my very favorite techniques to use, especially with some vintage and distressed pattern designs like we have today. Now the Fab Foil comes on a sheet that goes on seemingly forever. You have really just so much in here. And this will last you a really long time as well, especially with the technique that I'm about to show you. So I'm going to move aside my card for a second and my foil and just bring in a piece of our patterned paper today. So to get those beautiful foiled edges, really simple to do, I'm just using my standard glue stick. So I've got this on hand, and then I've also got my Fab Foil on hand. But wait until you see this. I have a big bag of Fab Foil pieces, little bits of pieces like this, where I've used just portions of it because you can really use this stuff until it's bald. I think you can see where that foil has come off on this piece here. But I will use them over and over and over again until they're, basically clear. So what I'm going to do here is just grab my glue stick, and I'm going to apply the glue right onto that pattern paper. Now, if I want heavy coverage, I'm going to angle the glue stick really toward the front of the paper. If I want something more subtle or cleaner lines along here, I'll edge it just a little bit angled in. But for the sake of today, I'm adding a lot of glue around here. And then what I'll do is take a piece of my foil and simply place it right down on here. Make sure that it's sticking really nicely. Smooth it down, and then let this dry. And I very often will put a book or something heavy on top of here so that that will stick and it will really stay on there. All you need to do is just let this dry, and then you can pull it off and see what it looks like. I've got a piece that I've already done here, and you can see the state of my little snippets of this gold foil, but this has had time to dry, so let me pull these off. And you can see this one was quite subtle. If I put it down up against the white, I think you can see how subtle that is. Over here, I've added a lot more of that glue, so I'm able to get a much shinier and more distressed look. The look will be distressed. I will add that, so you'll get some kind of uneven areas on here too. I just really love this. Now this is on white, but what does it look like on darker colors? Well, I did a little sample for you here on just plain black cardstock, and I think that also looks really beautiful. So some really fun ways just to add in a little bit of gold foiling on there, nice touch of texture and a little bit of shine. So I didn't go too crazy with the glue, as you can see around here, but I do have some nice edging along the sides here. So after I've let that glue dry and then placed it down onto the front of my card, I can add in my embellishments. So I have my leaves glued down straight onto the pattern paper. This portion is popped up with foam tape, so is my butterfly and the word delight. And then I've tied a bow in a piece of jute twine. This is also one of my very favorite go-to embellishment packs. Nice and light. It doesn't add a lot of bulk to your cards. So what I'll do is tie my bow, use a little bit of the Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue in this precision applicator, and then place it down, and then I'll take an acrylic stamping block and place it on top until that glue has dried. And then that way I'll know that it's on there securely and in the right place. Then for my card inside, I have a repeat of sorts with another large bouquet, plus the 2-leaf embellishments and the little Hello Friend embellishment, just to tidy that off. Our next card also uses some gold foiling around the outside edge of this beautiful collage patterned paper. I've gone around all 4 sides here and really edged it quite heavily up here at the top corner. I've also got some gold foiled splattering pattern here on the front of the card too, and that's right onto that pattern background paper. And I think you can see some of the larger splats here. Maybe if I wiggle this, this is another really fun and easy way to add some gold foil to your project. Super simple to do. So let me bring in just a piece of plain white cardstock for us to do our splattering onto. I've also got a piece of my fab foil, and I've got my Tim Holtz Distress splatter brush. Now, if you don't have the splatter brush, you can also use a water brush for this technique. So I'm working onto my craft mat, and this is going to be really important because this is what I'm using as my palette. To hold the foil in place, I need some glue, and I'm using the Cosmic Shimmer white acrylic glue for this. I've got it in my little precision applicator, but you don't have to have that for this. Okay, then let's go right to the demo. So I'm going to squeeze just a little bit of the white glue right here onto my craft mat. So I've got just a little puddle of that there. And then I'm going to load up my Distress splatter brush with some water. So I've got my very beautiful and well-loved jar of water off here to the side, and I've got lots of water here on those bristles, and I'm just going to kind of stir this up to get gluey, watery something onto those bristles. And then I'm going to splatter this onto my white piece of cardstock. Now you won't really be able to see this too well, I don't think. Pop that back into the water. Well, maybe so. Maybe you can see that. While this is still wet and gluey, I'm going to take my piece of foil and smooth that down in place. Now you could put a book or something else right on top of this. You could also do, as I normally do, use one of the base plates from my embossing machine and position that right on top, because you do want to have full coverage so that this can really dry in place. Give this some time to dry, and then you'll be able to pull this off and reveal. Now I've got 2 pieces here. I've got the white, and I've done it on black as well so that we can see. If I pull this off, I think you can see this beautiful splattering effect here, nice and shiny. Of course, the amount of foiling you'll get does depend on how much of that watery glue you use. Here it is on black, which I think is also really stunning. So 2 options for you depending on if you're going for white, black, or something in between. But I think this is just a really fun way to utilize that gold foil and also to create another little bit of interest here on the card. So after that glue has dried, and then I did the edges, of course, and glued this down to the front of my card and just embellished from there. So the pattern paper is one of these that has some frames on it. Here's another option in a different colorway. So you've got these nice shadow frames in here, and you've also got some of the frame laser cuts. And these can be used in combination. So you could simply position one down over on the top. These come in some different sizes. So you've got a small one as well. You can really play with the various combinations here. Now for my frame here, I wanted to sort of ghost back some of this area with that foiling. So I used just a piece of plain white vellum back to this and then position those together. And my frame is up on some foam tape, which also gives another little bit of dimension there too. So I've added that onto the front of the card and just enhancing this beautiful patterned frame on here. And then I've added my ephemera pieces with the leaves. I've got the sentiment. I've got another sentiment up here at the top and the butterfly. These are all added up with various layers of foam tape. And then I have another little jute twine down here for a touch of softness. Then for the card inside, we have two leftover bits of patterned papers, also foiled. And then I've got another one of these beautiful leaf botanical elements and another sentiment inside too. I really love the pull-up card design, which opens like so. It will pull up the card message from the inside, kind of like a little pocket in there. This is a lot of fun to make and to receive, and also super simple to do with the help, of course, of a cutting die. So it's, as you can see, the pull-up card cutting die. You will have two metal shapes in here, which will combine to create your pull-up design. Now, one thing I really like about Hot Off the Press's fabulous folded cards is that they always give you a project idea here on the front, and you've got another look at that same one here on the back of the package. You've also got your folding and gluing assembly directions on here with those diagrams and some written text as well. So everything you need is right here in this storage folder. And this is how I keep all of my dies nicely organized with the instructions and the die themselves together. So I've die cut already the base piece of the card. So you'll see here I've already folded this just to score along those lines and get ready to assemble everything. So this is going to be your scalloped top. This will fold up and this will fold down. Now this will create a pocket on here because you can see you've got those folded in side panels. You could use this as a really fun pocket design for a card or for a mini album, for a scrapbook page. So you can use this as it is. If you want to do the pull-up mechanism though, you'll die cut the second piece. You can see here you've also got a scored and folded edge. And what you'll do, what I like to do before I fold up the bottom portion is to add my top flap. So you'll align the edge of the folding panel with, if I can angle this, with the score line from that top piece. So you'll glue this like so, and then glue up the bottom. And then when this closes, it will close like that. Now, I've got a piece that's already all glued together. It'll be definitely easier to see. So here, you can see where that top mechanism works. If I tilt this at an angle, you can see it forms a little triangle in here. And then this will be your folding mechanism, and you can decorate from here. One thing I want to point out about my card front, so I've made my base piece from the cardstock from this kind of goldenrod color from the Ethereal Bouquets collection. And then I covered the front panels with two different pattern papers. Now, if you want to do the same, especially with this top area, you can, of course, glue another piece on top and use scissors to trim around the outside edge. You can also just take the die, this top portion here, and then position it onto your pattern paper. You don't have to die cut the whole piece. Maybe edge it off to the side a little bit, bearing in mind where that fold line is. Secure it down with some low tack tape and run just this portion through your die cutting machine. And then you will have a piece like this. So you'll have that scallop edge on there, and then you can glue this to the top portion of your card. Now I like to use a glue stick for this, especially if you're wrapping this around, because sometimes the paper does need to have a little bit of wiggle room in there. And that's what I've done here to cover the front flap of my card. And then I've also added some of this beautiful faux texture paper down at the bottom. Then to embellish this, I've got a small collage with some ephemera pieces here. This little heart is really sweet. I have the sentiment, and then I've got this really beautiful large circular element with the butterfly and some leaves here, another little bit of jute twine. And then when I open this up, you can see I've got another snippet of some pattern paper and then also the message here. Now with this best memories with you message on the card, I think it would be really fun, since you do have some room in the pocket, if you maybe added in a photo or some other little bit of memorabilia in there as well. So just another idea for using with the pull-up card design. Our final project also uses a fabulous folded card die, another one of my favorites, the Tuxedo box design. You can see the tuxedo style here on the front. Now this does pop up to be dimensional and also, of course, goes flat to go through the mail really easily. Now this is another fun one to create. Let me show you the die that I'm working with. So here you've got 3 metal shapes included. You've got the card back, the card front, and then the crossbar. Again, the project idea here on the front, and you'll see it again on the back of the package. You'll also see your folding diagrams on here. Now the orange that you see on the diagram, this is to indicate your adhesive. And like the orange or the red on here, I do recommend using the red extra sticky tape for this because it does need to hold the entire card together. So it's good to have something that will really add some security in there. And you've got your written instructions as well. So let me bring in my already die cut pieces and we can take a look at this. So here's the crossbar, excuse me, and you've got 2 short ends on here that need to be folded up. So I'm going to slide that over to one side for now. The card front has a fold in the center and then folds down on either side. And that's the tuxedo portion. And that fold in the center is where you can have the card be more dimensional. And then the card base, this will fold in the center to match the fold in the front, and also folding in on those side flaps there. So you'll start with your card base, and then you're going to take your crossbar and you're going to position this 2 3/4 inches from the bottom. Let me show you what this looks like on another piece. And you'll glue this down just the 2 short sides so that you have some movement in here and some space in there. And then you'll take your extra sticky tape, apply it just on these 2 panels, and then you'll take your front portion. I like to start with one side, remove that liner, position this down to make sure I've got it exactly perfect, and then remove the liner over here and secure the other side down. I've taken the liner off of both sides before and tried to aim this down, and you can imagine it was not quite perfect. So that's my little tip, is to start on one side and then go for the other side. And then you've got your flaps that will fold down and you are ready to go. So you can add in your focal element here and that will sit on that little crossbar. So I'll bring in again my finished card, and you can see here I've created the back from some of this beautiful striped design. Now this is really fun because with double-sided pattern papers, you can really play around with which design is going to be showing on the front, which will be showing folded over, what will be on the back. So you've got lots of options there. So the striped paper has this beautiful collage on the back, and I kind of position this to make sure that those corners were even. Then my front portion, of course, looks like this, and then on the other side I've got some script. And then my center area, now this is another one of those ephemera frames, also backed with some white vellum and also some pattern paper. Then I've got my floral embellishment, I've got my sentiments and my butterflies. These are all popped up on foam tape. Then I've also got a small collage down here with the postmark and the leaves and another really pretty butterfly. So this can stand up when the recipient receives it and can be flat to mail. Really simple. And also a lot of fun. So that is our final card project of the day today. A big thank you to you for joining me today, and a big thank you to our friends at Arden for today's gorgeous supplies that were just a blast to work with. So we're really glad that you're here, and we are so happy that you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.